Hi besties, welcome back to another video. Let's do everything I read this fall, and this fall I'm meaning from September until now that we're at the end-ish of November. That's about 3 months. I did get into like a tiny bit of a reading slump, and I also got into a series that it was a literal rabbit hole and it kind of consumed me, and it's still consuming me. So let's just get into it. I'm gonna go from worst to best because that's what I feel like we're doing right now. I'm also gonna mention the book that I'm reading right now because I'm a little bit over halfway through and have really strong feelings for it, so I am gonna include it, although I've not finished it. But I kind of have to know. I do have to. The total is 7 books, which I know is not a lot, but they were thick. Some of them were really thick books. So 7 books, I think that's a really good number, and 8 if you count the one I'm actually currently reading. So let's do 8 just for the sake of the higher number. Coming at number 8 with a 2-star rating, The Vows by Jessica Joyce. I did not like this book. This was a second chance romance, and I do not like second chance romance. This book made me realize this. It reminded me a lot of Happy Place, and I did not like Happy Place by Emily Henry. I like the other books I read from her, but not Happy Place. This was just not for me. I was skimming through so much of this book. I was just not interested in their story at all. Georgia and Eli used to date, but everyday life, routine, work got the best of them and they broke up. Now their best friend is getting married. They have to see each other again for the wedding, and they try just not to make things awkward for the best friend, and they just try to work together. But obviously that's kind of like the forced proximity of it all, and then it just forces both of them to say the things that they either avoided to say while in their relationship, or you know, that miscommunication that I absolutely hate so much. Like any miscommunication trope, just cut me out. Do not even mention the book to me if it's miscommunication, because I'll throw it out of the window. It was not so bad. Like I loved the wedding vibes and like the vineyard, whatever they were. I just did not care for the characters. It did, like Eli, I actually kind of did love him, especially towards the end. It's just like little small things that just automatically he went from here to here in my eyes. Like I really did like that. But even like the spice in it, which was not even that much, even the spice made me feel a little bit of a secondhand embarrassment. I don't know why. I was not really connected with the characters. I think that's why. But 2 stars for The Vows, and that's when it kind of happened for me, when I went into a romance slump. Okay, I did not care for it, although I have a full shelf full of romance that I've not touched. And I feel like the other reason why is because we went into fall and I was waiting for my fantasy kick to come in, and it did. I don't know what the next one's gonna be. I'm very conflicted, and I feel I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. I'm gonna go with the fiction one because it's a fiction and I'm not really a fiction girly. Although I'm trying to get into it, some of it I love, some of it I don't. But coming in at number 7, we have Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. This was one of the few fictions, actually literary fictions, that I read in 2024, and I was actually so excited to read this because first of all, the cover, stunning. It's all about like sisterhood, and anything sisterhood, it just hits home for me. Like it just hits a very specific part of me that can make me so emotional. We're not gonna talk about it. You have the 4 Blue Sisters. One of them dies. You know it from the very beginning that she'll die. She dies from a reason that's very yet underdeveloped into the women world, and a lot of women do die from it, so it was very realistic, and so many women go through this thing. It got so bad that she accidentally, okay, I'm not gonna say any more about that, but then it shows you the grief and how the rest of the 3 sisters deals with that. I think it's been like a year since she's died. It shows how all these sisters just went from being really close to just ended up in different parts of the world. One of them is in London, the other is in Paris, and the other is in California, and how they all get together back in New York to pack up the dead sister's apartment and try and move on. The way they had to deal with all of her things still being there, and the story behind how she died, how they were kind of like going downhill, kind of snowballing through everyday life. Either that was cheating or drugs or alcohol. They just go through it all, and they have a mother and a father who doesn't really care anymore, so it just was a lot. It wasn't as sad as I would expect it to be, but it was kind of like, it wasn't the happiest book that I read, but I'm happy I did. I think I gave this one 3 stars. Coming in at number 6, and I know a lot of people are gonna come at me for this. You guys, I did not like this. I mean, my annotations might say otherwise, but this book was so long for its own good. I did not care for what was going on for the 700 pages that this book was. I have my opinions on this book on other vlogs as well if you've watched them before. Besides the fact that it was so long, I had moments that I loved it and moments that I hated it. First of all, why do I feel like we go through 3 separate different plots? It feels like you're reading 3 different separate books through the entirety of it. I felt like there was quite a few plot holes. Maybe it was me that did not catch on to it, but I feel like a lot of the things that happened just did not connect. Like in my head, they did not make sense to where the story went, and it was just completely different. Just a lot of confusion there, that's for sure. For the length that this book is, a lot of like glossary, obviously have to go through a little glossary. It could have been a lot shorter. I did like the little trope that happened in the middle of the story. They realized something that happened, and I did really like, what's his name, Khan, I think it is. You know what, I love him. The things that this guy's been through, I love him for it. But there's a lot of things that just did not happen. Like I feel like the love story was so good, but everything else, it just did not make sense. I don't know, I feel a little bit bitter about this, but I love Khan. Number 5, Air Fire by Sarah J Maas. This book took me ages to finish. I actually soft DNF'd it because I started it in August and I was not in the mood to read it in August because it's kind of like a heavier fantasy for me. It's written in 3rd person, and I don't know if it's just me, but I have such difficulty getting through Throne of Glass books. There, I said it. I don't know how you guys all do it in a day, but the 3rd person, it just takes so much brain power out of me when I read, to the point that I have to reread a paragraph like 5 times to understand what's going on. So many different POVs, and you don't actually get the POV on the chapter. You just gonna have to read to understand who she's talking about. A lot is going on, and I feel like that's where the story just takes a turn. I feel like up to Air of Fire, the first 4 books up to Air of Fire have been pure world building, getting to know the characters and everything like that. We got quite a few different characters that entered the story in this book, so it was a little bit more difficult to just grasp onto the story and what was going on with these characters, because you are not going to be completely invested in them from page 1. So it was a little bit, you know, can we get through this? Something happened, as always, as in every single Sarah J Maas book at the last, probably this much, that has you on a chokehold. I'm gonna tell you, the ending of her books, I don't know how she does it, but I'm just invested every single time whatever book I'm reading by her. I just kind of like see the turning point in the series, and I'm just gonna say one thing: war is coming, and I'm so excited to read Queen of Shadows because so many people say this is the best in the series, but I was a little bit slumped after this book for the rest of the Throne of Glass series, so I am taking a little break. We'll see how long this lasts. I'm not gonna lie, the first 70% of this book was just, I don't even remember what happened. I still did like it more than this because I knew the characters. I was a little bit more invested in the story, so I think I gave this like a 3 again, but it was a different kind of 3. Reading Throne of Glass is not for the weak. It's nothing like ACOTAR, and I get that, but I feel like those 2 series are written by a completely different author. You can't tell me the same author wrote these books. Coming in at number 4. Well, actually, let me just get them out, because you know what time it is. Yes, I am one of those, and I'm not gonna stop. I have no intention of stopping, and you cannot do anything about it. Coming in at number 4. This is the fantasy series that I told you I went down a rabbit hole while reading, and I'm actually obsessed. Is Zodiac Academy. Everyone was just yelling at me to read Zodiac Academy, and I finally caved when I saw Larry, my queen Larry, reading this series in multiple different vlogs, and that's all it took for me to convince me to read the series, because this series is a commitment. It's a 12 book series without the novellas. So we have book number 1, which I gave I think 3 stars again, but it was just like a nice introduction to the story. You have those twins, Tori and Darcy, that they live in a mortal world. They think they're mortals, they're very poor, go from foster family to foster family, and their parents are dead as far as we know. And one day someone comes to their house and they're like, you know what, you're actually princesses from Solaria, the Fae world, the Fae kingdom, and you're coming to the Zodiac Academy to reclaim your powers, and if you get past a certain point in the academy, you can claim your throne. But guess what? People in Solaria thought these two sisters were dead. So that's why they took 4 different heirs from the 4 different, not kingdoms, but kind of kingdoms, because they have this cool magic system. I love the magic system in this. The magic system is the 4 elements. We have fire, water, earth, and air. And you have a specific air from each little element, and I think that's so cool. And they're about to rule Solaria, but then these 2 sisters come in and they do not like it. They try to make their life miserable. It is a bully romance, so if you don't like a bully romance, probably don't read this and check the trigger warnings beforehand. You have an enemies to lovers, you have forbidden romance, you've got everything. You've got every single just creature you can imagine in here, and this is like a really good introduction to the story. I feel like when people say books are just vibes, they mean it. I was there for the vibe. I was in the academy, I was just seeing everything in my head, I was having such a good time. So good. Not the best piece of literature, probably you've heard that before. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. English is not even my first language, so why would I care? If anything, it's easier for me to understand because it's written in such a simple way that I don't have to reread a paragraph 100 different times to understand it. Okay. And then I immediately went on to the second one, which comes to, before we go on to the next one, I think the one I'm reading right now is gonna take number 3 because the other 2. The one I'm reading right now is Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. This is a dark academia, gothic, forbidden romance, and I'm loving it. I don't think I've read a dark academia book before, and my friend recommended this to me and she said you need to read Nocticadia. And I will trust her with my life because she's the one that got me into reading, so thank you very much. We're gonna like buddy reading this together at the moment. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. You have, oh my god, what's her name? Lilia. Yeah, so you have Lilia. Her mother tragically dies from a parasite and people don't know about it, so they thought she was crazy when she told them what happened. They said that her mother herself, but she knew that this wasn't true. She kind of let it go because they kind of convinced her that she was crazy, and then she got a scholarship in the Arcadia University where they read her paper that she wrote about that parasite, which she said it was fictional, and they gave her a scholarship because they told her that, you know what, this parasite is very much real and it can affect humans, so we want to give you a scholarship, one of the best universities in the country. And she takes that opportunity and she goes there and she meets Dr. Death. That's literally his nickname. His name is Devrick. He's the professor. He's, you know, a little bit older than her, so you have that age gap, but nothing illegal, okay? And he's just very moody, very traumatized. He has this like kind of rare illness. He gets these headaches, seizures, that if they reach his heart, he's trying to find a cure for that through the parasite or the items of the parasite or something like that. I'm still trying to grasp how he's trying to find that cure. But she goes to the university, and long story short, they meet to become his lab assistant, and it just all goes from there. I'm gonna tell you that I'm over halfway through and they have still not touched nothing. I know this is gonna be good. Coming at number 2, we have the second of the Zodiac Academy one. This is the Ruthless Fae, and a lot goes on in the series. You start to just unravel a lot more of it. What goes on with those 4 heirs, you get some like enemies that come in as well. The bullying still continues very heavily in this book as well, but I think it's from both sides now. So the girls are kind of like trying to get back at the 4 heirs. And it's just so nice to see the character development and how those girls just take their powers. And you know what, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it was just vibes. It was so cute. You get a little bit of romance in this one as well. I think I give this 3.5, 4. No, I give this a 4 star because I was a little bit more in there, you know. And then coming in at number 1 for the month, not the month actually, the fall, I had a pretty mediocre fall rating wise, as you probably understood. But coming in at number 1, we have the third one in the Zodiac Academy series. This is the Rekoning, which is just like a little trial that we have to go through to continue in the academy, and you can just guess, like there's a lot of things going on to these different trials, but you have a little bit of romance. You've been waiting 3 books to get that romance, and you're finally getting it, but only from one sister. The other one is still just very much slow burning. 3rd book, nothing has happened. I think I gave that 4 stars as well. That you get like a little bit of a crazier ending that I'm actually scared to go into book 4 because I don't know what's gonna happen. She's definitely longer, but you know what, give me more. I decided to take a break and read Nocticadia, but I feel like after I'm done with that, I'm going right into book 4 of Zodiac Academy because I love it so much. This was the highlight of my fall reading wise, definitely. And I feel like Nocticadia as well is going very well. That was my fall so far. I feel like we're making some progress, but definitely on a fantasy / dark academia kind of mood, and I'm not mad about it. I'm actually loving it. Like I don't even want to touch any of these right now. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you really liked it, and thank you so much for being here, and I love you, and I'll see you all in the next one.